Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. July is officially over or just about over. I'm so happy about that. I'm so excited for fall. I'm extra ready for fall this year. I know we still have a ways to go. I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm looking forward to cooler temperatures, to school being back in session in a couple of weeks. Today we're gonna be talking about my favorite things from the month of July, as we usually do at the end of the month. This month was overload for me. I tried out so much new makeup. I honestly undid all the good that I did in the month of June, saving some money and taking a break from new products, and just binged this month. I had a lot of stuff from Sydney Grace that I got to try out, which I'm grateful for. We'll talk about some of it today. And then I had a new order of drugstore makeup, some new things from Sephora. So a lot of things to pick from, but I did find a couple of new favorites. And I also have a couple older things that kind of made into my favorites rotation. So we're gonna go through it all today. My pile's actually not huge. I think some of the stuff I still am gathering my thoughts on, but I'm gonna share with you guys what I loved the very most. But before we get into the makeup, a very special welcome to any of you that are new here. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing before you leave and make sure notifications are turned on. And with that, let's get right to it. All right, we're gonna start off with a foundation. This has been a staple for me this last month because, as I mentioned a few times, we went on vacation at the end of June and I got a pretty decent tan. You probably can't tell with these bright studio lights. I always look fair, but I do have, my skin is quite a bit darker than it has been for years. So a lot of my foundations don't match me. So this has been a staple this month. This is just the Wet n Wild Dewy Foundation. This one is in the shade Caramel. Now this is way too dark for me all on its own, but I've been using this as a mix in for almost any other foundation that's a little bit on the lighter side, and it just seems to make any foundation work. Now I do like this formula. It's not long wearing by any means, but if you have dry skin, and particularly if you use it as a mix-in, it works really, really well. I recommend having one foundation in your collection both much too light for you and quite a bit too dark for you. I'm talking like 2 or 3 shades too light and too dark, just so you have something in case you have a foundation that maybe you purchased that ends up being the wrong shade. You have something you can add just a tiny bit to get your other foundations to match you better. And again, the darker it is, the less you have to add, so it doesn't actually change the formula too much of whatever foundation you're working with. So this is a really good one. It's affordable. I generally do like the Dewy Foundation on its own, but it's just been a lifesaver for me. There has been very few days that I haven't had to add this to something that I am putting on my face to get it to match. I am even wearing it on my skin today. I actually have this mixed with a little bit of the Kosas foundation, and I just think my shade match is perfect. It's always so nice to get the shade match just right, especially when you're wearing deeper colors and more of your arms and your neck are showing. If your shade match is off, nothing ruins your makeup more than having a bad shade match where your face and your neck and your shoulders or arms are all different shades. It just looks bad. Doesn't matter what foundation you're working with. I think it's more important to me almost to get the shade match right than it is the formula itself. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Okay, let's talk about a bronzer. So I had to mention the Silky Matte Bronzer from Milani. This is in the shade 02. You guys, this is such a good bronzer. I know it's been around forever. I actually had shade number 1. I know I just talked about this in a video a couple of weeks ago. I'm so impressed with this bronzer. As much as I love cream bronzers, I have not used a lot of my cream bronzers lately because this is just such an easy bronzer to reach for. It's the perfect shade and formula for me and my skin tone. I would just say I have like light, maybe leaning light medium skin right now. Shade number 1 was way too light for me. I just had to build way too much of it up on my skin to get it to show up, and this one is just perfect. It's not too light, it's not too dark, it just goes on so quickly and easily. It's nice and warm, but it's also not orange. It's the perfect bronzer shade. Then I have a blush that I've been reaching for this last month. It's been sitting on my desk all month. There's been a couple others that I've been reaching for a lot. My Gel Crushes, I have been trying out the new one from Makeup by Mario. I'll talk about that one in an update coming up soon. But the one that I'm gonna officially title as my favorite this month is an older one from Nabla. This is the Nabla Skin Glazing Blush in the shade Truth. Now this is almost a highlighter. I mean, you look at this, it's very, very shimmery in the pan. It is a little bit shimmery on the cheeks, but I don't find it to be too much. It has this really nice bright pop of pink, so you don't have to use a lot of it. It gives you a nice subtle sheen without being too over the top or emphasizing too much texture. I just love the bright kind of orangey, it's like an orangey watermelon color that's just perfect for summer. I love shades like this in the summertime, things that kind of lean in that pinky orange direction. I just think it's so flattering when you have a little bit of tan on your skin, a nice amount of highlighter. Looks flattering with anything. I love shades like this, and this one's just so good. I love these Nabla blushes and the bronzer and the highlighters. They're so amazing. If you have not tried these skin glazing highlighters, bronzers, or blushes, you've got to try them. I think they're so great. I think I have about 3 shades of blushes, 1 shade of bronzer, and I did have 3 shades of highlighters. I think I ended up decluttering one. Ozone is the best highlighter in my opinion. This shade Truth is amazing. I love the shade Independence as well. They're really nice formula if you like something that has a little bit of sheen. I absolutely love these. Next favorite is the Revolution Duo Blush and Highlighter Duo. Now, I talked about this in a video a couple of weeks ago in a drugstore try-on that I did. I found this at my local Walmart for $2.98. That is a steal. There's a lot of product in here for $2.98. And in that video, I mentioned that I really liked the blush and I was on the fence about the highlighter, but my favorite today is actually the highlighter. I did say in that video that I wanted to keep playing with this because it kind of had the feeling, that kind of chalky feeling that some products give you when they're brand new. And by products, I mean highlighters specifically. Sometimes they have almost like this like baked film on top that once you get through that film, they're a lot more creamy. They go on a lot better. They have more pigment to them, so you don't have to use quite as much. They just have better formula underneath once you've used them a little bit. And that's exactly what has happened with this one. The more I've used it, the more I've come to really love it. What I mentioned in that first video, this being one that kind of emphasizes texture, I don't think it's quite as bad now that I've really dug into this. I wouldn't necessarily say this is like a smoothing highlighter. If you do have a lot of texture on your skin, it is very reflective, so it is going to emphasize some texture. It's not as smoothing as, say, my Laura Mercier or the Pure Nude highlighter from Essence, or maybe something from Hourglass. It's not quite that subtle and smoothing, but that said, for $2.98, and I do like the blush as well, it's fantastic. I would highly recommend this. I really want to go back and pick up the second blush shade. That one, I think the highlighter looked a little bit deep for me, but I'm curious about that blush. They're so affordable and they actually wear really well. The blush I thought lasted pretty good on my skin and the highlighter lasts pretty well. I am wearing it on my cheeks today. I'm also wearing the bronzer and the blush that I talked about. Sometimes I forget to mention that. I always try to wear my favorites on my face when I'm talking about them, but in case you were wondering, I'm wearing everything, I think everything with the exception of an eyeshadow palette that I'm talking about today. Anyways, highly recommend if you see this floating around your Walmart. I don't know that they sell this brand anywhere else, maybe Target. Definitely give it a try. You cannot beat the price for the quality of this little thing right here. Let's talk about a couple high-end products from my recent Sephora order. I have to say, you guys, that was kind of a big hit. I liked a lot of the things that I tried out in that order. First off, this right here. This is probably my least favorite of everything I'm talking about today, but I do like it. It's the Refi brow gel. I really like the formula of this brow gel and I like the applicator. That said, I have issues in general with brow gels that are tinted. Well, I really like them because they make your brow hairs, I like tinting my brow hairs because sometimes I feel like if I use either a wax or a clear brow gel, I get this almost white cast through my brows that kind of looks weird. It just bothers me. It kind of almost makes me look like the hairs are turning gray. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that deals with something like that, but that's the reason I like a tinted brow gel. But that said, they can get very messy. They're very difficult to use, especially if you get one that is actually tinted enough to where it doesn't give you that kind of milky cast. This one is in the shade medium brown. It's not as messy and gloopy as many can be, but that said, I still think it's wise to have on hand a clean spoolie while you're working with this brow gel or any tinted brow gel for that matter. This is a really good shade for me if you like something a little bit darker, which I can kind of get away with because I have a good mix of like dark roots and blonde throughout my hair, so I can kind of go like lighter on the brows or a little bit more medium to dark on the brows. And I just generally like this kind of darker brow look. This is really nice for giving you that kind of feathered, slightly wet brow look without them being too slicked or too crunchy. It sets down to this like medium soft hold, which I really like. It is a little on the pricey side. I think this thing was like $20 or $24, which for a brow gel that I know if I use this every day, I would run out of this really quickly. It's not the cheapest brow gel out there, but if you don't mind spending a little bit more on a brow gel, I do recommend this. I think it's really nice. But probably the thing I most love for my brows, let's stick with the brow category, is this right here. This was sent to me from Sydney Grace. This is their Mad For You Brows Brow Powder palette. Now the only shade I can't use is this one right here. This one's much too warm for me, but I have been randomly dipping into each of these other shades and they work so well, and I've come to realize that I really like how a powder looks in my brows. It gives me a level of like soft control that I really like. And I thought I had written off brow powders. I haven't been using a brow powder for years, but these are kind of changing my mind. I've just been really liking my brows. Now that said, I know I've talked a lot about brow products over the last 2 years as I've been trying a lot of different things, and I jump around a lot. So I'm not one of those people that have like one specific brow technique and product that they use all the time. I mix it up a lot. I tend to like something for a couple of months, maybe like a brow pen and a wax, and then I'll completely change course and go over to a slim brow pencil and a clear brow gel. There's no consistency with me. So just keep that in mind as I'm telling you guys what I'm loving, that I'm loving these right now. I don't know if these are gonna be like my lifetime favorites. Maybe though. I do feel like my brows lately have been looking better. Like I feel like I'm slowly getting better and better at doing my brows and also finding products that work really well for me. And this one I'm really excited about, and I never would have been. I probably never would have bought that because I just thought that powdered brow products were just not the right fit for me, but this thing has really changed my mind. I've used it every day since I got it, and I think that was about a week and a half ago. Let's stick with Sydney Grace. I wanted to share with you guys the Love's Journey palette. I talked about this in my Sydney Grace introduction to their upcoming sale video. Now I think when I checked the 3rd or 4th day of the sale, this specific palette was out of stock, unfortunately. I have the light version. That said, I'm sure it will come back in stock, and I highly recommend this palette if you are someone that likes your neutrals that lean on the cool side. You do have a handful of warm shades in here, but I honestly think I haven't used like this gray right here or this silver, but I think I've used pretty much everything else inside here. And the only shades that I think are actually warm are these two right here. Other than those, and actually even this one, I actually don't think this one's super warm. Like if you're just using it as a liner to smoke out your outer corner and you're sticking with cool tones everywhere else, your look is not going to be warm. This is the only shade that I would say pulls your whole look into a warm direction. Most of this palette is very cool. It kind of reminds me, and I mentioned this in that video, of the Natasha Denona Glam palette, that kind of color theme that leans on the cool tone side of neutrals. Very silvery, some kind of pink shimmers in here and nude shades. It's beautiful. The looks that come out of this palette are those kind of glamorous looks that are almost like bridal kind of looks. That kind of pinky gray color theme reminds me of like a bridal type look, which I feel the same way about the Glam palette. It's beautiful. The formulas are all really nice. Now, if you are someone that likes variety and maybe even likes an occasional splash of color, this is probably not gonna be the best palette for you, because I do feel that while the looks can be a little bit different, I feel like they're just slightly different variations of a similar type of look. But I know there are a lot of people that don't like to branch out very much with their eyeshadow and keep things on that like neutral, leaning, cool side. That's who this palette is made for. I know some people like this in my life that keep their eyeshadow in the same sort of lane at all times. And I do think if you are one of those people that's slightly less adventurous with your eyeshadow and likes more cool tones, this is going to be a perfect fit for you. We are almost there. Just 2 more things. Gotta mention the Yucca palette from Natasha Denona. I tried really hard not to like this palette, but I just can't help it. Natasha Denona, I hate that I love her eyeshadows so much because they're so ridiculously expensive. And I honestly felt like this color story was going to be a little bit outside of my comfort zone. But I have to say, you guys, I've been using this for about a week now and I can't stop using it. I just love Natasha Denona's eyeshadows. There's something about them that are just so high quality. As you're applying them, you can kind of feel it. Now, that said, this is what I always say about Natasha Denona. Her price tag is ridiculously expensive. I think the quality is clearly better than most other middle-of-the-road drugstore palettes. There is something special about it. I think the difference between more affordable palettes and Natasha Denona in price is a lot higher than the difference in quality. But I do think there is a difference in quality. If you're ever in a Sephora or maybe an Ulta, I think they have these in some Ultas now, go swatch some of her shimmers and just take a look, especially if you can find some natural light, at the sparkle in her shimmers in natural light. There is something unique about them. I mean, as much as I love my Sydney Grace shimmers, they're just fantastic metallics, but they don't have the multi-dimensional sparkle that a lot of Natasha Denona shimmers can have. They're really stunning. They're so pretty. And this has so many beautiful shimmers. Today I'm wearing this one all over my lid right here. In the video where I tried out this palette, I used this kind of duochrome right there. It's so pretty. I've been so happy with this palette. I love the looks that come out of it. And you guys, this palette is going to be so amazing for fall. I just love it. I don't know. I'm so happy with this eye look, and I feel that way so often when I pull my Natasha Denona palettes out and use them. I feel like my eye looks come together just in like a level above what some other palettes will give me. I'm sorry, I hate to say that because I know how expensive these are, and I hate to give people this like fear of missing out. I will just say this, I love my Alter Ego palettes almost just as much as I like the Natasha Denona ones. I think they do a really good job. Even their shimmers are pretty multi-dimensional. Every time I've tried to side-by-side look with one of their palettes that they come out with to try and duplicate the Natasha Denona ones, I've never been able to tell the difference. So I'm hopeful that they will maybe dupe this palette within the next year. If you don't have the budget for this one, if you can wait that long and want to save a little bit of money, I would recommend doing that. But this color story, you guys, I'm surprised at how much I love this. Okay, last thing, this is another product that I'm kind of annoyed that I like this as much as I do, because I'm still annoyed about the price tag. And I often feel that way about high-end lip glosses in general. And I'm talking about the Lawless Forget the Filler lip gloss. This one is in the shade Glazed. I am wearing on my lips today. You guys, this is such a beautiful lip gloss. It has the most pretty pearly effect that I've ever seen in the lip gloss. I talked about it in the video where I tried this out for the first time. I've been using it every day since. It does have a subtle kind of minty plumping effect, so if you don't like those types of lip glosses, you might not like this one either, but I just think it's so pretty. I hate that this thing was 20 bucks, I believe. Maybe even more than that. Was it like 24? I don't know. All I know is that there's not a ton of product in here, and if I use this every day, it's gonna be gone in like a month. And for some reason, lip glosses are one of the products that I have so many drugstore ones that I love. I just can't, in my mind, justify spending $24 on a lip gloss, especially one that doesn't give you a ton of product like the Fenty ones do. That's my only hiccup. If this thing had as much product as the Fenty, I would probably like pick this over my Fenty Sweet Mouth, which has been a long time favorite of mine, just because the sheen in this thing is so incredible. You've got to go swatch this. If you happen to be in a Sephora, give this a swatch. There's something so pretty about the sparkle in this lip gloss. I love it. If lip gloss is your thing, give this thing a try. It's amazing. And that is it, you guys. Those are all of my favorite things from the month of July. What were you guys into this last month? Did you have something new that you tried? Maybe some old favorites that made it into your rotation? Let me know what those were. I'd love to hear down in the comments below. Let me know if you guys have tried out some of these products, whether they worked for you or not. But that is gonna do it for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please stay tuned. I'm hoping that August will be a little bit better of a month for me. I know that my upload schedule was kind of very sporadic during the month of July. A lot of chaotic things going on in our family, but I'm hoping as school starts soon, baseball finally ends, we'll settle into a better routine in the month of August. So let that be a reminder. If you haven't yet subscribed, make sure to do that before you leave. But that's it for now. Thank you guys again. I will see you all in my next video. Bye. Okay, I have one more favorite. This is not makeup related, and I just have to say the Mandy from 5 or 10 years ago would die if she heard what I am about to say. It is my new pair of Crocs. I always thought Crocs were really kind of like ugly and nerdy looking until I started wearing my son's Crocs around. You guys, they are the summertime slipper. They are so incredibly comfortable for just lounging around. They have this perfect cushion in them that makes it feel like you're walking on a cloud. I get why people love these. They're amazing. And I kind of feel like they're making a comeback.